The 2024 Hyundai Elantra is a loaded ride. You're going to find it with a regular gas engine as an available hybrid, or as the Performance N trim level, which is going to kick up the performance a notch and a half. The N is one that you should consider if you're an enthusiast who loves power and is looking for a compact car that could be driven year-round. In this video, you're going to learn everything that you need to know about the 2024 Elantra. Pricing for the Elantra in Canada is going to start at $24,700 versus $22,800 down in the States, and it's going to go up depending on how you have the rest of the vehicle configured. This is the N trim level of the Elantra, which in Canada, fully loaded, you're looking at like $43,000 versus about $36,000 down in the US. But that's obviously going to be based off of the paint color that you choose and a number of other features, whether you go manual or automatic transmission instead. This is the Performance Blue exterior, which is the same color you're going to find in a number of other N vehicles in the Hyundai lineup. And it looks really, really sharp. It's a head turner. I've been getting compliments on this car all week. You're only going to find the Elantra N front-wheel drive. It doesn't matter if you're in Canada, the States, which trim level of the vehicle that you're in, etc. Front wheel is the only option. Not necessarily a bad thing though. I tend to prefer all-wheel drive in cars, but at the same time, if you live in northern states or in Canada, front-wheel drive with a good set of winter tires on there more than has you covered from a handling perspective. And this car does handle very, very nicely, but it does help that this is the N trim level of the Elantra. When you look at the wheels inside the vehicle, you are going to find 15 up to 19-inch wheels, depending on which trim level of the vehicle that you're in. Since this is the N trim, you've got this really aggressive split-spoke black painted wheel, which looks beautiful. I tend to be a bigger fan of black wheels anyways, and just the overall style here with the red painted calipers, I just think looks beautiful. While Hyundai is known for their feature-packed cars, the Elantra is the entry-level model, which means that you're not going to find a lot of extra technology in most trim levels. But because this is the N trim, you will find the forward and the reverse park sensing system, but there won't be an option for a 360 camera inside of this ride regardless of the trim level of the vehicle that you're in. And then since this is the N trim level, there are a few different highlights that are going to be N specific. So the front lip of the bumper that wraps all the way around painted red, that even stretches across to the side and rear of the vehicle as well. There are LED headlamps inside of the ride. They're subtle, but they still look pretty good lit up at night. Underneath the hood of the Elantra, you're going to find a number of different engine choices available. So the base engine is going to be a 2-liter naturally aspirated, so a non-turbocharged engine. There's a 1.6-liter traditional hybrid. There's a 1.6-liter turbocharged engine. And then there's this, a 2-liter turbocharged inline 4. Power-wise is 276 horsepower and 289 pound-feet of torque. It is the most powerful option inside of the Elantra lineup. So if power's your thing, you're going to want to go this route. As always, so you do have the option for sport mode inside of this ride, but you got the option for the N mode, which is going to unlock the best possible performance that you can find inside of this car. And got to get back up to highway speed here. So let's do a little 0 to 60 in 3, 2, and 100. Hyundai! Oh, that is beautiful. Beautiful performance inside of a Hyundai. Like you wouldn't expect it to be able to pull the way that it does, but you put your foot down and you are flying in this ride. So if power is your thing, you're absolutely going to want to go for the N version of the vehicle. The 1.6-liter turbo is nothing that you should snub your nose at though either. It does have pretty good performance overall, but if you want the best possible fuel economy inside of the Elantra, you're going to want to go for that 1.6-liter hybrid instead. And it's a traditional hybrid, so you don't plug it in. It's going to essentially charge up a small battery as you drive, and it's just going to lead to overall fuel economy that's better than the regular gas engines instead. Then, the warranty inside of the Hyundai world is also pretty solid. In Canada, the basic and powertrain are a 5-year, 100,000 kilometers. Down in the States, the basic warranty is a 5-year, 60,000 mile, with the powertrain getting bumped up to an impressive 10-year, 100,000 mile instead. And then the hybrid components in the vehicle are covered for 8 years. But regardless, you just want to make sure you maintain your ride. You can easily change oil here if you want to. There's easy access to the battery as well. But take care of your ride. This car will absolutely take care of you. The Elantra is not a big car by any stretch. It's a smaller sedan, which is perfect if you're young, you don't have kids, or your kids can fit in the back seat. So if you're looking for something smaller profile, the Elantra could be right for you. And getting inside is not tricky by any stretch. So I'm 6 feet tall, and getting into the first or second row, it's not difficult by any stretch. I'll show you the interior space in a second. But first thing I got to point out, side view mirrors there. So you can see featured turn signals in some of the higher trims. There's the blind spot monitoring system there as well. So if somebody enters the blind spot on either side, it's going to highlight there to let you know. There's also a little bit of intelligent access here. So you can push in order to be able to lock the doors, and then push in order to unlock. Oh, but look at that. Oh, and trim, which looks great. I mean, even looking at that side skirt there, that's good. But you've got this suede interior with a speaker all around. And then the majority of the trim level lineup is going to look something like this. So adjust your side view mirrors, unlock and lock with basic window control. A little bit of door storage there as well. On the inside, you can increase, decrease the brightness of the cluster screen and the infotainment. Turn traction control on or off. And then there's also a manual steering wheel across the entire lineup. You've also got your hood release, and since this is the 6-speed manual, clutch, brake, gas. Love it. These are your regular carpeted mats that you're going to find in the vehicle. Got this little end scuff plate there. And then a few things. So you can open up the trunk, open up the fuel door there as well. The seats inside the vehicle, fantastic. Like I said, this is the N trim, which is why it looks the way that it does. But the sport bucket seat is great. It's going to be a regular cloth seat inside of the lower trims of the vehicle, leatherette seats and some of the others, but the seat itself is great. And the one thing, so this is a manual seat, but in some other trims it might be power. But it's manual because this is the sport bucket, but most of the lower trims also have the option of moving it forwards, backwards, lifting the seat, lowering it, and then adjusting the backrest there as well. Ooh, but let's hop inside. Oh yeah, start up. Taking a peek at the steering wheel and as well as the cluster screen inside of the Hyundai Elantra. This is the 2024 N model, which is why you've got these N buttons and then the rev button along the very bottom. But outside of that, the buttons and the layout of the screen are going to be very similar across the board. I'm going to show you everything that you need to know. So first thing is that the steering wheel is going to be heated, and it's going to be just along the right side there. It's not standard across the board, but you'll find it in most trim levels, and it's heated all the way around. Adjusting the steering wheel is just done by your left knee. So you could release there, and it's telescopic, so just in, out, up, and down to find that perfect position. Once you do, click it, lock it back into place. Now, buttons and so many switches, starting off with the ones on the left-hand side. So you've got your blinkers there, flash out your high beams. You're going to be in the auto mode here, so you can adjust between different light modes, but auto the majority of the time. If you are in auto mode, you could push away to get into an auto high beam mode. And what that means is that if the vehicle recognizes high beams are needed, it's going to turn them on automatically. If somebody's oncoming, it's going to dim them before turning them right back on again. It's a really useful setting. You could flash your high beams this way, but if you wanted to permanently lock your high beams out, go into that top light mode, push away to get them to go, pull towards you to turn them off again. Along the right-hand side, you've got your wipers with variable speeds. Intermittent means that you can adjust how fast or slow the rain's hitting your windshield there as well. Straightforward. You're going to pull in towards you to get the wiper fluid going there as well. So easy enough. Now, you've also got the flexibility of adjusting the brightness of the screen. So you could see down by my left knee, you've got the option of adjusting your brightness. I usually just recommend keeping it in max brightness mode. And there's another switch in order to toggle traction control on or off. Really, the only time you're going to look at turning it off is if you're going to do some track usage, but if you are getting wheel slippage. So if you're using this as a year-round driver and you notice that you're not picking up traction in the snow, you could toggle your traction stability control on off that way if you'd like. And there are so many buttons. So this is going to be for cruise control. Some versions of the Elantra have regular cruise, like this one, because it's the manual transmission. Other ones are going to have the adaptive or the smart cruise control system. If you've got the adaptive or smart cruise, you're not going to be able to have regular cruise control, and then vice versa. So if you just have regular cruise, you won't have the adaptive. But we know this is regular because there's no distance indicator. Inside of the ones with the adaptive cruise, there would be a distance indicator to let you say how close or far do you want to be away from the vehicle in front of you. But you can toggle the system on off this way by pushing that button. Then you can increase your speed. So you hit up to set your speed and then increase, decrease 1 kilometer, 1 mile per hour at a time, or you can push and hold up instead to go to the nearest zero. So if you've currently got it set at 45 kilometers an hour, you push and hold up, it'll take you to 50. Push and hold down, it'll take you to 40. You could pause or resume your previously set speed as well. You can hit the brake to pause and then push in order to resume. If you had the adaptive cruise, that would all be done through this little switch here instead. Then there's a lane centering or lane follow assist. Such a cool system. So it's not self-driving, like even when you have the adaptive cruise control system, but it gets so close. So this one is going to keep you perfectly balanced in your lane as you go. So it's going to follow you around bends. You need to keep your hands on the wheel because after about 30 seconds, it tells you to put your hands on the wheel. But otherwise, it's going to take you fully around bends without you hanging onto the wheel at all. It's actually really cool. Then there's a pages button here to take you through options inside of the cluster, and then an up-down switch as well. But before we get there, there's also a voice command prompt. So you'll be able to do things like change songs, radio stations, navigate using your voice, and a number of other things. But if you were hooked up through Android or iPhone devices, you could also do a longer push and hold there in order to activate your Google or Siri Assistant instead. Just that I don't have any phones connected right now. From there, there's a volume rocker, so you can go up and down this way, push in order to mute out. You could answer or hang up on a phone call. Then there are 2 custom buttons here, and you can adjust that through the infotainment system. So under setup, you've got buttons, and then because I'm in the N, you can adjust what these do as well. But for regular Elantras, you can adjust what this mode button does and this one. So this custom button, you can have it go to your home screen and a few other options. Mode button is going to let you change between whatever sources you've got checked off there. So if you're a fan of Sounds of Nature, FM, SiriusXM, whatever the case may be, you can adjust out that way if you'd like to. Really straightforward. And then this one we have set up to go back to that home screen instead. So really, really easy to use. And then you've got this in order to be able to go between. Actually, hold on, let's go change the mode for a second. So FM, you could jump between all of your presets if you've got presets saved, or you do a push and hold either way to be able to seek if you'd like to. Seek is a little bit temperamental this way, so you've got to be quick on the draw there, but you can easily go up and down between presets if you'd like. And then you've got different N buttons. So this one is going to be the drive mode selector. Inside of most trim levels of the Elantra, your drive mode selector is going to be just down by the center stack there. So above the shifter, so you'd be able to change between your eco, normal, or sport mode down the middle there instead. But because this is the N version, these ones are just programmed in to do that instead. But otherwise, it's going to be just down the center stack there. And because this is the N trim level, bam, look at that. Oh, I love that cluster screen look. Love it. But yeah, you see you've got different options available. And then because this is the manual transmission, you've got a rev matcher as well. Where that rev match comes into play is as you're shifting down, what it's going to do is it's going to match your RPM. So what it's going to do is rev up. It sounds so cool. So it revs up a little bit as you change gears. But I love the way that it sounds overall. Then you've got some options of customizing, which I'll touch on in a second. But inside of that cluster screen, so let's go to the traditional look instead. So you've got your eco versus normal versus sport mode. You can change out and lock these in. I'll show you that one in just a second, but you've got your current fuel level shown as kilometers. If you were in miles, that would obviously show up. You can adjust, or you can see, I should say, what your fuel level is this way. Parking brake is currently engaged, but if that was off, that would disappear. You've got your current speedometer, your tachometer, outside temperature, your current fuel economy. So right now I'm getting 10.5 liters per 100, and you can see that it's right at the 10.5 mark. So as your fuel economy gets worse in Canada, it'll go to the right. As it gets better in the States, it'll go to the right. And then it's the opposite way. If it gets better in Canada, it'll go to the left. But so many things. I love it. And then if you've got all of your different settings turned on, things like that, what gear are you currently in? So because this is the manual transmission, you've got your first gear, whatever the case may be. Actually, interesting. It doesn't show. Huh. Interesting. Just shows that when you're in neutral. I wonder if it's the same way for reverse now. You can see in this one, it's got the forward and reverse sensing system. So that's what those things are letting you know of. So as you get closer to obstacles, those show up. But so many other things. You've got your current RPM level, current engine temperature, and then your odometer along the bottom right side. And then as you jump between different modes, so normal just shows nothing versus sport mode with that more aggressive look. But let's dive into these other features. And that's all controlled using the Pages button along the right-hand side. So you can button press to get to different options. So this main one is your drive settings. So if you are on the highway cruising, you're going to notice that there are different settings that are showing up there. And then you can also push and hold the OK button here in order to jump into some different settings inside of the infotainment system. So you can adjust driving safety, driver attention warnings, and things like that. There are so many things, but I'll show you this one here. So cluster theme, you can adjust it out to this funky cube display instead. It's really different. It's like very, very different look. But I'm a bigger fan of the classic themes. But let's say if you love being in the eco mode, but you want to have the look of the sport mode, you can do that. So I'm in the eco mode with the sport mode look by just adjusting it this way. But you can link it to your drive mode instead. You can show what content's showing up there as well. So icy road warnings and all that fun stuff. There's a blue light filter and a number of other things that are available inside of the screen on top of that. Then moving through, you've got your current oil temp and then engine temp, and then a few other things. Again, because this is the N trim level, there are lap timers and things like that. That one specifically, so that page is not going to be in any other trim level outside of the N. From there, you've got your different fuel counters. So you've got your current trip. So that's from when the vehicle is turned off and then back on again. That's your essential basic trip counter. Since you've last refueled, whether that's a full tank, partial tank, whatever the case may be, that's the economy that you've gotten. And then your since last reset. So far, I've driven the car 72.4 kilometers. Before I parked to do this video, I was at about 8.2 liters per 100, but it's gotten worse just because I'm sitting here talking, and it's essentially going to be worse fuel economy because of that. But in most of these where it says OK to reset, all you're going to do is push and hold the OK button there, and that just resets it back to 0 instead. There's also your digital speedometer. So if you don't like looking at it this way, you can see your speed done that way instead. And then this is just a basic compass view, but if you've got factory navigation inside of your Elantra, you could search for different things. And unfortunately, so this only works for factory navigation. So if you do have Android Auto, Apple CarPlay set up, it's not going to show up this way, but strictly for factory nav if you've got it, but you've got your turn-by-turn directions there. So cool. And then if you don't have that going, it's just going to be a little compass instead, showing you which direction you're facing. And then tire pressure, which can be shown as you start to drive. The Elantra does technically feature two different screens. So it's going to be a smaller 8-inch screen in some of the lower trims. But for the most part, though, you're going to find this larger 10.25-inch one across the majority of the lineup. The smaller screen has wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay versus this one is a wired connection instead. But let's dive in. I'll show you everything that you need to know. So starting off, this is going to be the home screen that you're typically met with when the vehicle's first turned on. And one thing to point out, this is also the N trim level of the vehicle. So that's why there's this dedicated N mode. If you're in the lower trims, you're not going to have this one. You have to be in the N specifically, but I'll save this until last. Along the very top, you've got this icon in order to jump between different profiles. So there are 3 individual options available. So it's either guest, driver 1, or driver 2. So that's the max number of profiles that you can have. One of the big benefits of having the driver profile set up is you'd be able to do things like link your key if you wanted to. You'd be able to have it remember all of your presets for the radio, your phones that were connected, and things like that. But if you're the only one driving, not a big deal. You can hit this home icon to get back to this home screen. Swipe across, hit the hamburger icon to turn the display off. Back on again. You can edit the icons as well. So you can hit the edit button there, or you can just do a long push and hold in order to get to this screen instead. And then from there, you can just drag along
in order to customize it and really make this your own. So you just have to push and hold until it's loose, and then you can drag it around to customize it and then reset it back to the default instead. So I like that you can adjust the layout here. You can hit this button to get to the QR code as well, and that's going to be for the owner's manual. So if this video doesn't help out, you're going to be able to find out more information about the vehicle, so things like maintenance schedules and things like that. You can see the current time, your current date, and then hitting the time gets you to the option of adjusting the time if you'd like to, your current connection level, and then if you've got a phone on the wireless charge pad. So if you take it off, that goes away, back on to support wireless charging. If your phone supports it, boom, that's going to show up. And let's dive in and I'll show you everything that you need to know. So you've got the map mode and that factory navigation, which is very useful. There's a little arrow along the side. You can push that in order to be able to hide or show factory navigation. You can also swipe up and down to get to a few different views on top of that. But the full screen map looks great. You can hit the home icon to get back to the home screen. Map button pressed there. Hit this in order to change your different heading modes. Navigation volumes, what volume do you want to get for your voice, and then for tones. So if you're coming to an upcoming turn, do you want to get voice or tone notifications? And you can disable it if you wanted to. You could zoom in and out this way if you want, but you can also do pinch to zoom. The second that you start dragging along though, it essentially goes under the assumption that this is where you want to travel to. So in order to cancel that out, just hit the little home icon there, or I should say the little icon along the top there, your like Star Trek-y symbol, to get back to this screen instead. We've obviously got the current time menu that gives you a boatload of options, so saving locations, turning the display off, things like that. You can search for addresses this way, so GPS coordinates, you could go latitude first, longitude second, if you wanted to be able to search by GPS coordinates. You can also start typing in an address. You can type in point of interest icons there as well. There we go. So you can see there all of the different options available for Tim Hortons. Let's go number 5. And then from there, set it as a destination. Let's deactivate and no, just because it's a press car, that's why that came up. And you can see if there were different routes available, those would show up there as well. And then you can also add in a waypoint. So this is your end destination, but let's say on the route, if you wanted to stop at a gas station, and we're going to search, oh, perfect, even better for gas stations. And let's just randomly grab one here and hit OK. Oh, waypoint 1 is too close. Yeah, because they're right across the street from each other. That makes sense. All right, let's do this one instead. And back, and perfect. So let's calculate. There we go. So it's telling us the recommended route in order to go where we want to go. You can avoid certain things on the route. So if you wanted to avoid ferries, toll roads, HOV lanes, things like that, and then just start guidance.
The route guidance will start now.
There we go. You can cancel in order to cancel the route very simply there. And searching for addresses, you can see the addresses that we've previously gone to. You can add in a home or work address. And one of the big benefits there is that you could hit the voice command prompt on the steering wheel and you'd be able to say things like navigate home, navigate to work, whatever the case may be. And it's going to navigate to whatever those saved addresses are. And back home leads us into navigation menu. So you can search this way if you want to. You can look at point of interest icons, look at previous destinations. You can delete your previous destinations, select all and delete. And it's that simple to remove previous destinations. Moving back, you can look at Hyundai dealerships. If you had an active route going, you could cancel the route, look at the overview. You could show traffic and then add in up to 3 individual, technically 5 favorites. So you've got your home or work, but you could set that up for whatever address that you'd like to. And that's the basics of using factory navigation. It's really straightforward. Next up is going to be adding in a phone.
From your device in order to search. On your device, select the name that matches vehicle name on the screen.
So as of right now, you can see that there are no phones that are connected. So on your phone, all you're going to do, go into your Bluetooth settings, and you're waiting for the Elantra N to show up. Pins match up, so let's pair. Go. And do you want to allow contacts and favorites to sync up? This is not my car, so I'm going to say no to that one. Obviously, if it was yours, you could say yes to that. But we are fully connected now. So it said unsuccessful because I said no when that message came up. But if your contacts were there, they would show up. You've got the dial pad, your phone name, your connection and battery level there as well. So your phone is technically connected. Then you can do a little split screen here if you wanted to. And we're connected over Bluetooth, so you could stream audio this way if you want to. But there is also the option for Apple CarPlay, and inside of this 10.25-inch screen, it is a wired connection. And you have to make sure that you've got a USB cable that supports data transfer. So there are two different types of cables, one that supports data, one that doesn't support data. So if you are running into issues with your Elantra not connecting to your phone for CarPlay specifically, check down in the description of the video for a walkthrough. But otherwise, all you're doing, plugging yourself in, and it'll take a second there. Do you want to allow CarPlay with the Elantra while the phone is locked? Yes, you want to do that. Otherwise, if the phone's locked, CarPlay just wouldn't work. And look at that. Boom, fully connected. You've got your current time and date, which map was open last, which audio application was open last, which miscellaneous application was open last. And then you can hit a little icon view, back to a home view, and then swipe across from there. The home screen that you're going to be met with here is going to be dynamic just based off of a few things. So I don't know why it's doing that. Apple CarPlay is going crazy right now. All right, so I definitely don't have Justin Timberlake on here. It's just that for some reason, it's just being super odd. Très bizarre right now, but this screen is going to be slightly dynamic in the sense that whatever map is open last there, that would show up. If you don't have an upcoming calendar today, that wouldn't be there. So it would just be these two options stretched across instead. So you can search and then swiping across gets you to this icon view as well. You've got Apple Maps, Google Maps, and Waze inside of the Apple CarPlay side of things, but no pinch to zoom capabilities. You've got to zoom in and out this way. Apple Maps is good. Google Maps, in my opinion, is better. You can search for addresses, you can look at things on the route, so avoiding highways, toll roads, ferries, things like that. Change out your map colors, show traffic, adjust volume. Really straightforward. But my personal go-to in every vehicle that I drive, I love using Waze. And there's a few big reasons why. So you can see there, different Waze users along the route. So it's going to tell you what the active speed is that people are traveling on the route as you go. If there are police that are pulling people over, you could notify people, and people tend to notify you as well. If there are hazards, if there are crashes, block lanes, things like that. So it is very straightforward using these apps, but like I said, for navigation, Waze is my way to go. You've got things like podcasts that you can use on the phone as well. So if you're a fan of listening to podcasts on the road, you've got Hoopla, which is a library app, Live One, which is a radio app. So there are a ton of different audio apps that are available inside of this vehicle. And then miscellaneous apps like YouTube Music and things like that. I will point out, you unfortunately don't have video playback capability inside of this screen, so it's strictly going to be audio. So I'd love to see video, not there as of yet. Now, if you wanted to, you could also customize this screen. So on your phone, you're going to go into General, CarPlay, you're going to find your vehicle, you can forget the car, you can customize the screen, or allow CarPlay while the phone is locked. We want to customize, and let's say if you love your podcasts and you want to have Waze at the top, you can essentially just button press and then drag and drop the little hamburger icon there to customize it. Anything with a minus next to it, you can remove it from the screen. So there are lots of options there that you can delete, and it fully removes them, but it saves it on the phone, so you can add them back in if you want to. But if you've played around with the layout too much and you don't like what you've done, you can hit reset along the top of the phone, reset, and that's just going to bring you back to the factory default screen there instead. Now, on the center stack, if you hit setup, device connections, and if we go phone projection, we can't adjust anything because we're connected. But if you disconnect, projection settings, and then CarPlay, you can use split screen as well. And you can also disable. So when you're plugged in, CarPlay wouldn't work. You could just hook yourself up over Bluetooth. But using CarPlay split screen now, watch this. So we plug in, and CarPlay is now connected, so it's just going to take a second. Go back home and jump into CarPlay. So now you've got this little split screen. So you could use CarPlay on the one side while you're using other options for the vehicle on the right side instead. So CarPlay, regular. It's kind of neat. But let's say if you wanted to maybe use CarPlay in order to listen to podcasts and things like that, but you wanted to use factory navigation, you could do that. So you can kind of do this little mix and match there instead. I tend not to be a big fan of the split screen, but that's going to be a matter of personal preference. From here, when you're connected, you could do a long button press and hold in order to activate your Siri Assistant. If you do a short button press, that's going to launch into your vehicle assistant instead, but the long push and hold launches your assistant. And then we're just going to disconnect, and we're going to go into setup and device connections, Bluetooth projection, and then I love using the full screen instead, but that's how you set up Apple devices inside of the Elantra. Setting up Android devices is the exact same process. All you're going to do is go to phone. And as of right now, I'm still connected to the iPhone. So what we're going to do, go into setup, device connections, and then you've got the iPhone that's connected. So we're just going to hit add new.
Turn Bluetooth on from your device in order to search. On your device, select the name that matches vehicle name on the screen.
From there, what you're going to do is look for the Elantra. Elantra is there and PIN numbers match up. So we're going to pair. There we go. And we're now connected. And as you can see there, you've got both phones. So you can do a drag and drop there to see who gets connection priority. And then one cool thing is that you can have one phone connected for phone calls and one phone connected for media. So you can do kind of a mix and match here. So it can either be Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, but you can do one or the other this way instead. And then if you go back home, phone, now on the phone there, and it's asking me, do I want to allow access to contacts and messages?
Some phone.
It's eventually going to say no because, or it failed because I selected no there, but the phone is connected now. You've got your dial pad with all of your basic phone information. And then very similar to the iPhone. All right, I was waiting for that to come up. So it said no again because when I connected my phone, I said no there. And now it's asking for access to my messages. Same thing, I'm saying no, so it'll pop up with another error. But Android Auto is also going to be wired inside of this version of the screen. Like I said, the smaller screen is wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, but this is wired. You just want to make sure it's got that data transfer icon. Same idea, plugging down the center stack and plugging yourself in. Bam. Okay. And Android Auto would like to, so we're just going to hit next there. It should just take a second. And look at that. 3, 2, 1. We are fully connected to Android Auto. So you've got your current connection level, battery level, time, maps, and things like that. You've got your voice command prompt there. So a little hot button press, or you can do a longer push and hold on the steering wheel in order to activate your assistant that way instead. But we're connected. Now there's a little split screen here, but if you want to, you can hit the little map icon to go full screen, go Maps, and it's full pinch to zoom capabilities as well. I love that that's available. You can search for addresses. You could hit this little gear icon to do things like adjust, show traffic, 3D options. If you wanted to avoid things on your route like highways, toll roads, ferries, things like that, you'd have the flexibility to be able to do it. And then back. And then if you hit this button there, that goes you back to your split screen. You can go to this little icon view instead. And then Waze is showing up. But if you've got Waze installed on your Android, but it's not showing up on the screen there, check down in the description of the video. I've put together a little walkthrough explaining how to actually add Waze inside of the screen or Android devices if it's not showing up. But you can also customize this a little bit. So on your phone, if you go into Android Auto, so you're going to search for Android Auto settings, and that's going to pull you up to this screen. And you've got a boatload of different options available. What you're going to do is go to Customize Launcher, and same idea. So we've got all of these plus buttons that you could remove things from the screen if you want to, and then anything with this little icon here, so you can just drag and drop around in order to customize the overall layout if you'd like to. Now, it's not dynamic the same way it was on the iPhone side of things. So in order to adjust, all you're going to do, unplug, plug back in, and this is just for those changes to come into effect. So see here in a second, we launch in and we've got the adjustments that we've made there. So it is nice that you can customize the screen. I would like to see it dynamic the same way on the iPhone side of things, but it's at least there. You can hit setup down the middle there again. Actually, let's disconnect here. Device connections, and we go device connections. We've got both phones that are connected. You can hit delete devices, mark all and delete. And let's go yes. And it's deleted both devices from the vehicle. And it's that easy setting up Android and iPhone devices inside of the Elantra. And moving back home. So phone projection, that's going to show either Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. I'm not plugged in, so that's not going to show anything there. There are voice memos as well. So if you wanted to record a voice memo right to the screen, you've got that flexibility. You can adjust climate here on top of that. So climate is kind of neat. So you can adjust it easily this way if you'd like to. You can turn it into auto mode. You can have it going to windshield face feet, some sort of Frankenstein combination of all of the above. You can adjust your fan speed as well. Automatic defog, defrost, and things like that. So there are climate controls available right through the screen, which is useful. But just down the center stack, you've also got a boatload of options available here too. So there's dual zone climate control. You can sync up the passenger side to whatever the driver's side is very simply there, hitting that button. toggle the systems off, adjust your fan speed, have it going to your face feet, things like that as well. And then heated seats and a bunch of other options, heated steering wheel, all that fun stuff. But it is kind of nice because you can do some advanced settings here on the screen and then just your main settings down below. Hitting this button gets you into some additional climate settings, which we'll touch on as we get deeper into the setup. Valet mode is going to give you the flexibility of being able to lock the screen out, set up limitations. Quiet mode is going to essentially turn down the speakers, and it only plays through the front speakers instead. So if you've got kids that are sleeping in the back, you can have it in a quiet mode. There's HD radio data, a physical radio as well. So you've got AM, FM, SiriusXM as well. You can easily adjust out this way. You can hit station list to see what stations are available. So if you're new to an area and you're not sure what's available, you can hit whatever station there, and then you can also just do a refresh there to see what stations are based off of your GPS area or where you're currently located. SiriusXM is available here, and on any of these stations, you'll see this little star with a plus icon. That essentially means that we're looking, so it's going to take a bit to search because I've moved to a new area, but there we go. So you've got this little plus button there for you to be able to save in stations. So anyone that has the plus icon there, you can save it and then minus to remove it instead. And that's going to save it as a preset. So you've got all of your presets there. You can reorder this way, or let's do that like that. Button press the hamburger icon in order to drag them around to whatever option or whatever order that you'd like, and then just push back. And one of the big benefits of setting up the presets inside the vehicle is that on the steering wheel, so you've got a few different buttons along the left pad there, but you've got the flexibility of pushing up and down in order to jump between your presets. You can also do a push and hold in order to be able to seek. So it is kind of nice. It's a fairly fast seek, so you've got to be able to jump off there, but you can also hit the voice command prompt if you wanted to change stations that way instead. From there, back into radio. Let's see, you can search for different stations this way and hit OK. From there, if we go station list, let's go to SiriusXM for a second, because you've got all of your different SiriusXM stations. You can go channels, channel number, prioritize presets. So nothing too exciting there, but that's using the radio. It's very simple to be able to do it. Hitting this gives you a boatload of other options, so you can scan SiriusXM channels if you'd like to. You can delete presets and things like that. And actually, on that note, if we go into FM for a second, that gives us other options here too. So you can scan FM, you can tune manually to a station instead this way if you'd like. Kind of neat, just a different way to do it. And then you've got a bunch of sound settings as well, which we'll dive into in just a second. Setup is available, but before we get there are options for media here too. So you've got AM, FM, SiriusXM if you were hooked up to Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, Bluetooth if you were hooked up over your phone, USB, and sounds of nature. So if you want just like those more relaxing sounds instead, because things are chaotic on the highway, you've got that available. There's Blue Link, notifications, and then a digital owner's manual as well. So if you wanted to, you could just scan that QR code on your phone, and that's going to pull up your owner's manual on Hyundai's website. So you can see there all different options. So if this video didn't help out, you can scan through to get to other options there. And diving into setup, where there are a boatload of other options. You could search for any settings. So if you knew what you were looking for, like let's say if you knew that you wanted to get to ambient light, you could start typing it in. You can toggle the display off, turn it back on again, and then you've got a boatload of other options. So vehicle with vehicle settings. And as we dive in, let's dive in and start off on driver safety. So tons of different options. You've got speed limit offset. So if you're okay with going a little bit over or under the speed limit to get warnings or not. And then with the speed limit assist, if the speed, let's say goes from 60 down to 50, you could then push the button here. So you could go down in order to jump down. If your speed goes from 50 to 60, you could push up in order for the vehicle to bring you up to that set speed instead. I'm personally a fan of just saying no to that one, but that one's a matter of preference. Do you want to get warnings, yay or nay? Park safety priorities. So let's say if you're pulling into a spot or backing up, if you've got the sensing system, it's going to lower the volumes for you to hear different options there. Leading vehicle departure is an interesting one. So if you come down to a complete stop and then the vehicle in front of you starts driving away and you haven't started moving, you're going to get a little notification in the cluster letting you know. Forward safety, if there's a potential collision, it can automatically brake for you. Lane safety, if you start to veer over into a lane without signaling, it's going to nudge you back into your lane. And that one's different than the lane follow assist. So there's the lane safety that's going to nudge you back into your lane. And then there's the lane follow assist, which is going to keep you perfectly balanced in your lane as you go. Not fully self-driving, but I mean, it is really cool being able to go around bends. You can take your hands off the steering wheel and the car keeps you perfectly balanced. There's blind spot safety there as well. So if somebody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle, it's going to highlight red along the side view in order to give you a heads up and let you know. Parking safety, rear cross traffic alert. So you can adjust the camera settings if you want to. So your rear parking line. So as we shift into reverse there, so those are your parking lines, so whether or not that one shows up. And then these lines here, if you've got the forward sensing and the reverse sensing system, that'll show up there instead. You can adjust the brightness of the camera if you'd like to. Rear cross traffic alert, when you're backing up, if somebody comes perpendicular, so from the left or the right, it can let you know of a potential collision. And driver attention warning, which you've already seen. So you can dive into any of these settings a little bit differently if you'd like to. So it's kind of neat the way that Hyundai has this set up. Let's see, turn signals by default. It's going to be 3 flashes, but you can have it as 1, 3, 5, or 7. A welcome light on the outside when you come to approach the vehicle, which at night, paired with that ambient light, the walk-up looks pretty good. Headlamp delay when you go to lock the vehicle. Do you want the lamps to stay on for you? And then there's high beam assist. So high beam assist is kind of a neat one. So on your left turn stick, you've got the option of going into an auto mode. And then when you push away, that's going to turn on the little button there. So it says auto. And what this means is that if the vehicle recognizes your high beams are needed, it's going to turn them on. If somebody's oncoming, it's going to dim them before turning them right back on again. It's a pretty useful setting. Door, when do you want the vehicle to automatically unlock? You've got a few other options, so smart trunk and remote window control. Let's hop outside and I'll show you how those ones work.
And you've got to get at least 10 to 15 feet away for a few seconds. And as long as you've got the key fob on you, just going to walk up to the back end here. There's kind of like a Goldilocks like sweet spot. So not too far away, not too close. Look at that. Trunk pops open automatically. So a nice smart trunk feature. There is one other cool trick, and that's utilizing the key fob to roll the windows down. So you're just going to push and hold the unlock button. And that's down it goes. And that's just going to be the driver's side window, push and hold, in order to continue the process. So if you release the unlock button, it's going to stop it. Pushing the lock button, unfortunately, doesn't roll them up. So it's strictly going to be window down.
I love those features. Remote window control is great. I love it if it was remote window up as well, but at least being able to vent the vehicle out, pretty useful. There's a digital key available in some vehicle or some trim levels, so you could use your phone as a key. I unfortunately can't show you how this one's set up because this is a press car, but if you wanted to see that, check down in the description of the video for a walkthrough video from Hyundai directly. Rear occupant alert, so if the back doors are open, you go to turn the vehicle off. You're going to get a little message in the cluster screen telling you to check the back seats. And that's not it, no way. Did we get through everything? Yeah, I was going to say, I'm like, there's no way. So yeah, so we got through all of our basic vehicle settings there. Yeah, there we go. And we've got navigation settings, which we've already seen, adjusting different things. You've got sound options here as well. So if you wanted to limit your startup volume, so if you've got the audio cranked, you got to turn the vehicle off and then back on again. It's not going to be cranked. Position, you can adjust the balance and the fade if you'd like to. Circle it in. You can have it focused on the driver, passengers, whatever the case may be. Tone lets you adjust the treble, mid-range, and bass. In this car, I found that the treble down by 3 and the bass cranked by 4 gives really, really good audio. That's going to be a matter of preference, but too high, I found the treble makes it too tinny. You don't want to go too low on the bass, whatever the case may be. So I found this setup tends to be pretty good. There are 2 different speaker choices that are available. So it's either going to be a 6-speaker system standard in the lower trims, and then there's an 8-speaker Bose sound system inside of the higher trims, including this one. So I want to do a little audio test here, and this is just coming out of the microphone, so there's no post-processing done whatsoever.
I'm just imagining listening to something like that while you're driving on a track going 220. That would be so good. So good. All right. So I want to do a little bit of more of like a rock rap type of a song instead, just so you can get a feel for that one as well. So same idea, just out of the mic.
These times it feels like nobody's right, yeah. So we succeed and then invest all of my time into that and proceed. I need whatever the hell could make me happy, and I don't think you have a clue what could that be. They tell me that I'm never gonna make.
The audio quality inside of this Bose speaker system is so good. It definitely helps that this is a smaller cabin though, so everything's just more compact, and the sound, the acoustics here, they just work so nicely, but it's really, really good.
Device connections, which we've already seen, with the exception of a few things. So you've got Bluetooth prompts, but Bluetooth system info. So by default, the vehicle name is Elantra or Elantra N, whatever the case may be, but you can customize that in order to make it your own. Bob's ride, Sally's ride, whatever the case may be. And you can also set a unique passcode there too. User profile info, which we've already seen, so you can adjust your individual profile if you wanted to. So change the profile image. Unfortunately, you can't use a custom image, but kind of neat that's available. You can change the driver name, link your key as your phone as a key if you'd like to. Voice recognition. So there is the voice command prompt on the steering wheel here. So when you're hooked up through Android or iPhone devices, long button press, hold, it gives you the option for activating Google or Siri. Short button press brings you up to here.
Here are some available.
And there are so many things.
If you have factory navigation, you could go to a destination, you could go to contact settings, vehicle commands, you could turn on the air conditioning, you could lower or raise the temperature, turn the heated steering wheel on or off, turn on the heated seat warmers, things like that. There are so many things that you can do with your voice assistant. So one thing that I recommend is that when you get your Hyundai, jump in, play with the commands to see what you can do. But one thing I recommend, reduce the number of prompts, because when you push it and you do things like change songs, radio stations, things like that using your voice, it'll just do it. It won't tell you that it's doing it, it just happens. So it's a very useful setting there. Screen layout, which we've already seen these, so adjusting different views there. Screensaver is available, so when the screen's turned off, what do you want showing up? Do you want nothing? Do you want a digital clock or an analog clock with a unique watch face? So you've got different options there. So when you go to turn the display off, you've got a different look there. So that one's going to be a matter of personal preference for the look. And then split screen. So when you're on that split screen, what do you want showing up? And in which order do you want it showing up instead? So if we go back to the map for a second, you've got your split screen options available there. And back out into display. So display, we've already touched on adjusting brightness, but blue light filters available there too. So later on at night, if you want to reduce the amount of eye strain, you can do that. And it gives you a little bit more of like a red tinge to the screen. So getting rid of the blue light. You can have it automatically come on or schedule it when it comes on as well. Adjusting the camera settings, which we've seen, and then buttons. So there are a few unique buttons inside of the vehicle. So there's one down the center stack there, and then there are two on the steering wheel. The ones on the steering wheel here adjust different things. So, and then, well, I guess technically because this is the end version of the vehicle, you can adjust these buttons too. So what do you want these things to do? So inside of the left end mode, do you want it to have custom options? Do you want it to go to the end drive mode, lap timer starts and things like that? But your custom button down the center, what do you want that one to do? Do you want it to go to your end mode? Do you want it to go home, turn the display off, whatever the case may be? So now we hit that button, display goes off. Blue Link is available, and then your general settings as well. So you've got your basic firmware information where you can update the vehicle if it's available. You can look at system information, date and time, and that's grayed out because you're automatic. So if you deselect, you could then adjust the date and time manually yourself if you want to. The only time I recommend that is that if you are straddling a time zone, because you might find that if you straddle a time zone, it might constantly flip you back and forward. So you could lock it in to whatever time that you'd like. Do you want the 12-hour mode, 24 hours, or do you prefer that military time instead? And do you want to adjust for daylight savings time? Languages are available there. So do you want to be in English, French, Spanish, or Korean? You can adjust your keyboard. Units is a useful one as well. So as a default there, you can see that we're in kilometers, but you can also have it set up for miles. And it changes it out inside of the cluster screen. And then when you've got the climate control adjusted, it even adjusts that out down the center as well. So Celsius versus Fahrenheit. You can adjust out, do you want to be in liters per 100, kilometers liters, PSI, kPa bar, boost options. These ones are because it's the N version of the vehicle. And then different media options. Do you want the radio off when you turn the vehicle on? Do you want to continue playing when the vehicle's turned off? So it's going to stay on for a few minutes and then reset. So if you're in the guest profile, you won't be able to adjust the screen out, or reset, I should say, everything. So you'd just be able to delete the guest profile info, but logged in here, you could delete everything and just bring it back to a factory default instead. So if you're selling your car, that's the way you're going to go. And then lastly is going to be the N mode. So you've got your throttle, you can see there as you go, lap timers if you have that available. Really cool. You can record manually, automatically as you go. Your brake pressure, you can see what your braking levels are at. So very useful if your plan is to track the car. And then you've got a few custom modes that are available. So you do have your main N mode inside of the screen, or inside of the vehicle. So you hit N, and that's going to essentially turn you into this screen here, which, I mean, damn, that looks good. Really cool. And then you've got custom modes available here as well. So what do you want your custom modes to be like? The N essentially is the way that this is set up, but you could adjust your traction control, stability control, G-force meters. You can have your custom options set up here. You can hit this button in order to show you what each one does on each level. So it really you can customize this to make it your own. So if you wanted to have different sounds, actually on the sound one, it does sound pretty neat. So let's hop outside. I want to show you what these sound like. So that's pretty cool, especially coming from a Hyundai. Like, you just wouldn't expect it. Rev matching's a neat one because this is the manual transmission. So as you go to shift down, you'll notice that the revs automatically pop up. You're not going to have that in the automatic transmission, but the manual does, including launch control. And then there are different performance options as well. So which RPM do you want to be set up for launch control? Do you want to get your shift lights, yay, nay, and then active sound design on top of that? So it is kind of cool that different options are available specifically for the N. And then down the center stack, you can see there, so your push button start, you've got a hot button press to get to your map, to your navigation options, radio. If you wanted to button press for your media, you could turn the display on off, adjust your volume that way. You can seek for stations. There's a custom button that we've set up to turn the screen into this mode. And then you can jump into your setup there as well. If the infotainment system inside of your Elantra is giving you issues, you could go to Setup, General, Reset, and then you could reset all in order to bring it back to the factory default instead. That should solve any problems that you're having, but it's also going to delete all the information from the vehicle. Not ideal. So what you're going to do is get a paper clip or something that's small enough to be able to fit into that little hole right above the setup there. So some versions of different Hyundais are going to be in different spots. This one's here. It might be next to a volume rocker if that's down here, but the spacing or the position of that is going to depend on which vehicle that you're in. So because this is the Elantra, all you're going to do, button press there. You can see that was quick. The screen's turned off and it's going to go through a little boot cycle here. And that should solve any problems that you're getting. There's either single or dual zone climate control, basic fan control. There's heated seats in most trim levels of the vehicle. And then there's only one trim level, I believe, that has ventilated first row seats, and that's the limited hybrid down in the States. But outside of that, it's just going to be heated first row. There's a 12-volt power point down there, a few USB power points, so a USB with a data transfer, and then a USB Type-C that's strictly charging. There's a wireless charge pad down there. a button for drive modes, so you can adjust out between either eco, normal, or sport. And they're going to play with things like traction control, stability control, things like that. There's also a camera button there in order to get you to your backup camera. So no 360 option, but you've at least got that backup view instead. From there, if you've got the option with the park sensing system, you can toggle that beeping on or off. And I mentioned, manual transmission. So there's the option for either the manual transmission here, so 6-speed manual, or there's, I guess, a 7-speed DCT. There's the 8-speed as well inside of the N trim level of the vehicle. But I just love my manual transmissions. When you're in the automatic in some trims, you will have paddle shifters as well, but it's such a good system. But if you want to know how paddle shifters work, if you're in a car with paddle shifters or a hand shifter instead, check down in the description of this video. You're going to find a nice manual parking brake there, a few cup holders with a little removable tray. This little guy has a good amount of space there. There's a little glove box there that's non-lockable. Good amount of space. The dash, the visibility here is also pretty solid too. And the space inside of this car is also good. So hold on, with the seat as far down as it's going to go. This is ridiculous. So I'm 6 feet tall and I've got 3.5, I'd probably say about 3.5 inches of headspace there, teetering almost on 4. So if you're taller than like 6'4", you might have difficulty getting into this car. Otherwise, you'd have more than enough space. I gotta just set the seat up. Yeah, there we go, the way that I traditionally would. The mirror inside the vehicle is auto dimming, and there's also the home link system. So if you've got a garage door opener at home, you can program that in. There's also your basic controls for your cabin lights there. And then there's this for a little sunroof. Look at that, not full panoramic, but still that's pretty nice. And then one cool thing, single button press to open it up the majority of the way. Secondary button press opens it up. That lasts a little bit. It's a little bug guard there, but because it goes down, the outside profile looks pretty good. Solid. From there, you've also got a little vanity mirror, light built in over top, ticket receipt holder, and then this stretches out to block all of the sun. That might be hitting your face. But like I said, overall, I think that Hyundai did a pretty good job here. Little holy crap handle for the passenger, just in case you need to hang on as you go. But let's take a peek at the second row here. And actually, you know what? Safety. I'm going to turn that off. Just because if it was the automatic, I wouldn't. But because it's the manual, the last thing I want is to be in the back here as it slips into gear. But you've got just basics here. Your window control, a little bit of storage. Folding down the second row seats has to be done from the trunk. There's no way to do it here. Up over top, those are your top tether points. So you've got your anchor points in the seat, top tether points available there as well. But, looking here, good amount of space overall. I mean, I think that's solid. Okay, highlights here, because this is the N trim. You've got see-throughs, tickle the driver as they can, don't tickle the driver, but you've got little pass-throughs there. Style is neat. Like I said, the sport bucket seat is comfortable, but the driver's seat, the way that it's set up with me being 6 feet tall, inside of the second row, I've got a good amount of knee space, foot space, and up overhead. With me sitting fully upright, it's tight. So fully upright, my head's actually touching the very back. So I'd have to kind of hunch a little bit in order for it to work inside of the second row. But I can fit back here. It's tight, but it's doable. But if you've got kids, convention, if you need kid seats, the anchors and the tethers are there if you need them. Fitting 3 adults back here might be a little bit tight, because as we get to the middle, there's a hump there. And it's, me sitting fully upright, I've got to dip my head down. So I'm not fitting in the middle seat. And it's not comfortable in the middle seat by any stretch, but the outboard seats here are fairly nice. There might be a map pocket inside of some of the other trims of the vehicle, but not in the N because of the sport bucket seat. You've got a few USB power points down there, so 2 USB Type-C, and they are power points, no data. On the side there, nice and simple. Got a little handle on the passenger side, handle and a hook on the driver, and then up overhead, cabin control light as well. There are no cup holders built into the seat.
of this vehicle. And then the outboard seats here, so you're not going to have the heated seat option inside of this trim level of the vehicle either. But overall, I would say that Hyundai has done a pretty good job here. Filling up fuel inside of the Elantra is done just along the driver's side. One nice thing is that it's a locked cover. And in order to unlock, just to the left-hand side of the driver's seat, release you're going to pull, and it's a cap system as well. There is the option of doing a locked cap aftermarket if you really wanted to, but you're set to go. When you look at fuel quality inside of the Elantra, it doesn't matter if you're in the hybrids, the 1.6 turbo, or this 2-liter turbocharged engine instead. Minimum manufacturer's recommendation across the board is just regular 87 octane. So regular gas is all you need to use inside of this vehicle. The 2-liter turbo, could you use like an 89 or a 91? Yes, but the performance gains are going to be very minimum. It's just that, like I said, 87 is the minimum recommended, so you're going to get pretty good performance overall. It's front-wheel drive, so by default, it's going to have pretty good economy. But the hybrid definitely is going to get better fuel economy than the 2-liter turbocharged engine here. So which way you go is going to depend on what you care about and making sure you balance out the cost of the hybrid, so the purchase price up front versus how much you're going to spend in fuel over the lifetime that you own this ride. The rear end styling of the Elantra is pretty good, and since this is the N trim, there are some extra goodies you're not going to find in the other trims of the vehicle. There's a little wing in the back, painted black, glossy black, which looks sharp. There's dual tip exhaust back here, and then pointed out in the front. So most trim levels of the Elantra, you're not going to find the forward or reverse park sensing system, but since this is the N trim, you will find the rear park sensors back here. The LED lamps inside of the Elantra do look pretty good lit up at night, and they do have a little glossy black bezel that traces all the way throughout that stretches across. And then the blacked out badges in the back, just a nice touch overall. Getting into the trunk of the vehicle can be done a few different ways. But there's a button just underneath the H in the back, so underneath the backup camera, that you can push in order to get inside. There's a release just to the left-hand side of the driver's seat, and then you can use the key fob. But one of my favorite features inside of the Elantra is the smart trunk. So just make sure the car is locked, and then you've got to get a few feet away, like 10 to 15 feet, for a few seconds. And then all you're going to do is just walk up to the back end, and as long as the fob's on you and the feature's enabled, smart trunk. Such a great feature. It's really easy to use, and I love it. It's not available across the entire Elantra lineup, but it is pretty cool at the same time. There's nothing really back here. Nothing off to the right or the left side. And then underneath, you're looking at just the inflator kit. So the air compressor as well as the goop. No mini spare tire, but one of the nice things about being a Hyundai owner is that if you ever run into trouble, let's say if you need a tire change, you need fuel delivery, winching services, if you've locked yourself out of your car, you've got access to Hyundai roadside assistance. And that's good for 5 years, unlimited mileage in both Canada and the States. So there's an 800 number that you can call, and they can come out to give you a hand. Now, since this is the N trim level of the Elantra, there's a little brace that separates the second row from the trunk. So you can fold down the second row seats in the trunk here. It's just that if you've got that brace, you're not going to be able to slide much in between there. But folding it down is the same way across every trim level. So there are releases along the back here. You've got to pull both the left and the right sides. And you could technically push it from the back if your arms are long enough, but you've got a great amount of cargo space inside the vehicle. If you're in the N with that brace, could you remove it? Yes. Do you want to remove it? No, it's for added stability inside of the ride. So you could if you want to, but it's definitely got its purposes there. I did mention that this doesn't have a spare tire, but if you wanted to add one in yourself, you could. Just pull out the inflator kit, slide one in, grab a jack, and Bob's your uncle. Just like it, there's such a good amount of space inside of this trunk. And that was everything you needed to know about the Hyundai Elantra. You can find a build link for this specific one down in the description of the video. But if you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and until I see you next time, take care.
How do you where are you going, you weirdo? Passing illegally on the inside here. What a doofus. This woman's a maniac coming up behind me here. It's like illegally like crossed over to pass somebody in like the on-ramp lane instead, rather than waiting 2 seconds and behind me here. People, man. I don't care about the rules of the road. It's all about what I want right now. I don't know about you, but have you noticed that people have just been like more road ragey than usual lately? I don't know if it's just me noticing it, but people have been kind of nuts lately. So, getting bitten everywhere like a mother.